PE teacher kept making fun of me because I was not athletic, and I made him vomit from exhaustion in front of the whole class. This was well over a decade ago, but I wanted to share. I was born with a congenital heart disease and had surgery as a kid. I am completely okay, but sports was obviously not my thing. I was small, skinny, and clumsy because I never really could do the typical outdoors stuff like most kids. Got teased and bullied and all that. Typical for a geeky kid who doesn't excel with a football. In high school, we had a mildly problematic PE teacher, a typical sports dude who would make fun of the slower kids. I still remember how he ordered my overweight friend to do a gymnastics jump from a trampoline over a stool, which he obviously couldn't do, and he fell so hard he cracked his head. I found peace with myself long before and mostly didn't care and just took it. But it was stupid, and I hated how he always encouraged the jock culture of making fun of the nerds. We would constantly do basketball or soccer football. Thing about my specific condition is I don't do explosive and reactive sports at all, so I would have to sit down every few minutes to catch my breath. You would think what's wrong with that, but I was shamed about being the weakling of the class every week. I like sports, though. A lot. I was just always told by my parents and doctors to take it easy. And growing up, I noticed I had no problem whatsoever with endurance and steady, long-distance efforts. As long as I don't go into red, I could keep it up for quite a while. So it's not a surprise I fell in love with road cycling when I first saw the Tour de France on TV. I was super skinny, couldn't sprint, but I could climb a long mountain any day, pacing myself and blowing nearly anyone off my wheel on endurance. I got myself a road bike and never told anyone at school about my rides. Here comes the revenge. We had a class sports day, and there was a bus arranged to take us to the top of a mountain about an hour away, where we were to go on a hike. Our PE teacher said that if anyone wants, he will cycle up there and we could join him on the climb instead of the hike. I was the only one to volunteer. He was surprised and commented something to the effect of keeping up and not gonna wait for you, but I insisted. He couldn't know I was more than capable to climb that mountain because he only saw me struggling with sports with him. He also couldn't know that was my home hill, literally starting a kilometer from my house. I did that climb 100 plus times and knew it blind, knew my pacing, and while I was no Tadej Pogacar, I knew I could probably drop my PE teacher at will there. For cyclists out there, the climb is 12.5 km, 6.9% gradient, super regular. For non-cyclists, a perfect climb for a lightweight rider with good pacing and stamina. So the day arrives and I did my warm-up. Nutrition and everything, as if it was a life-or-death mountaintop time trial, and rock up at the school in my full racing kit and my racing bike. I was 17, weighed 55 kilo, and totally prepared. He was a typical middle-aged, overconfident ex-soccer player, probably weighing 90 kilo, on a standard mountain bike. Super perfect situation. He sets a relatively hard pace on the 10-kilometer flat before the climb, and I don't speak or take the front. I take my good time to get back on his wheel after intersections, and he probably thinks he will drop me the second we start going uphill. Then the climb starts, and it becomes very apparent to me, but not to him, that he is near his limit, but that it's at least 5 kilometers slower than what I could do on that mountain, but I don't attack him. That would not be satisfying. Instead, I start bantering how someone's getting dropped today, and it would be embarrassing if the whole class sees how I beat him. And then I take over the pace and slowly start turning the screw on him. I went only a little faster, then a bit more. I knew after about 3 km he was in the red. So I ease off, keeping him just slightly over his limit for the next half an hour. I wanted to make him suffer, but without dropping him. I let him recover for a tiny bit if he starts looking too bad, but then I would slowly push the tempo up to make it as painful to him as possible. It was Tour de France level mind games. I don't think I've ever enjoyed myself on my bike more. We made it near the top together, and I let it rip on the last 300 meters or so, and it was that typical humiliation attack every amateur group ride cyclist knows. He dropped like a stone. I got my revenge and was very happy with myself. He said something about his heavy bike, and I kept my mouth shut. But it got better. On the top, he was clearly dead. So much so, he had to vomit in the parking lot, and even if only a few classmates saw it, everyone knew. He had to sit out the hike after, and I just quietly sat there with him, because I didn't need to do the hike, like he promised, and just looked at him enjoying the sweet revenge. I didn't say anything after that, nor did he. He never made any comments to me in PE class again. Lesson: don't bully your students, they might surprise you. Alright, before we check out the top comments, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't yet. Top commenter. Reminds me of PE at school. I was absolutely terrible at PE because my depth perception isn't good. I'm absolutely incapable of catching a ball that is thrown towards me. I was obviously bullied. Then one marvelous week, we had inline skating as preparation for a ski trip. Most people borrowed the scrappy gym inliners. I rocked up in a pair of battered and scarred hardshell skates with the middle wheels removed for agility and bottle caps woven into the laces. At the time, I did hardcore street rides almost daily. The whole shebang, curb jumps, downhill speeding, and all sorts of dangerous stuff. I also had a gnarly scar on my chin as a trophy. Everyone was warming up, and I was already trying to reach max speed and trying to figure out how to do hard grip maneuver on the slick gym floor. It was actually real fun. Grip was horrible, but it didn't matter, as slamming down at full speed on the smooth surface wouldn't rip you to shreds, so it didn't matter. Nobody really expected the unsporty nerd to go full amok with inline skates. And another comment says, which was insightful as well. I was in PE classes semi-recently, and I remember we had a couple weeks where we would start the class by jogging. The first jog was 2 minutes, then the next day it was 4 minutes, all the way up to 12 minutes. Then they started going backwards until we were doing 2-minute jogs again. I remember being really confused about why they would do this, but in hindsight, I think it was a good way to learn that if I run for just a couple minutes every day, it starts getting really easy. My last 2-minute jog was nothing compared to the first one. So hopefully PE classes can improve over time and actually make kids appreciate exercise. Moving on to our next story. I have no idea who you are. At class reunion, my high school class had our 25th reunion over Labor Day weekend. We hadn't managed to put together a reunion since our sparsely attended 5-year. We went to a small college prep school. Our class had 72 kids, where everybody knew each other, and because it was small, you could bounce between activities, so there weren't a lot of cliques. High school was mostly fine for my best friend John, names changed, and I except for one guy named Tom, who wasn't so much a bully as much as just a general dick to the smarter kids in the class. He constantly made jokes at our expense and pranked us with things like creating a bunch of fake invites to a fake party at my parents' house or starting a rumor that he had seen John kissing a girl who was a lesbian. John founded a company in his late 20s and has done very, very well for himself. He, and to some extent myself, have raised a lot of money for local charity over the years, and recently he spearheaded the construction of a STEM center to be jointly run by several area schools, including our high school. His name got put on the building. This has given him a pretty public profile and made him somewhat locally famous. Yes, his parents had some money, but he has far outpaced them. His company has a marketing assistant that has helped get his name in the news, including being featured by our high school's alumni newsletters and social media. They also mange his social media accounts because he gave up a few years ago due to time and professionalism. All this has nothing to do with ego. He is an awesome guy, but knows that his company's profile and revenue has risen with Archie because of his personal profile. Tom has, since college, always been kind of a flashy, self-promoting grifter, get-rich-quick guy. Because of social media, I know he first tried to be a white rapper, jolly DJ in the early 2000s, then has bounced from car sales to some real estate investing thing that sounded like mortgage fraud. I'm in construction and RE, so I can recognize that crap. To some PE-sounding investment group, and now has some crypto bro thing going on. Through the years, he has heavily promoted himself on social media, and even tried to do the whole pay me to teach you investment strategy thing. He even DM'd me several times with investment opportunities to which I never responded. Fast forward to last weekend. John hosted a part of the reunion at his house, barn, he has several acres, about 50 alumni plus spouses, and probably 20 kids showed up. John and I, our spouses, and a few friends pretty much camped out on chairs on a side patio and mostly didn't bother to mingle. We were all drinking and catching up. Mid-evening, Tom came over to us to glad hand John. John stayed calm and exchanged general pleasantries, but quickly, Tom launched into some BS. You know you have done well, but you could make a lot more money in crypto. John interrupted him with, I'm sorry, I didn't catch who you are here with. Is your wife one of our classmates? You could tell Tom was a bit taken back. No, man. I'm Tom, Sarab. We were classmates. Don't you remember I used to razz you? John scratched his head and said, Not really. I think I have a pretty good memory of our class, but I don't remember you at all. Then John got serious while giving a small wave to the event planner, Ashley, nearby. Listen, I get approached all the time like this because of my business. I get it. But this is my home and a private event. Then looking at Ashley, hey, can you take a moment to verify the guest list? I'm not sure what's going on here. Thanks. Ashley then addressed Tom while giving him a big fake smile. Right this way, sir. We just need to just verify your ID against the guest list. I'm sorry, I hope you understand. Tom followed her off in a bit of a huff. John sat back down while giving me a wink and then said to the group, It's unfortunate. I have to be careful. Someone else piped up. Yeah, that was Tom. He was in our class. John kind of shrugged and said, must not have interacted with him much. Then changed the subject, or so minutes later. Tom returned with a classmate who had largely organized the weekend and had been friends with him in HS. She said, I hear you said you don't remember Tom. He was in our class for all 4 years. He played on the football team. John again shrugged and said, I'm sorry. Sometimes people just fail to leave an impression on me. I hope you enjoy my home and have a lovely weekend. At that, he turned to his wife and said, Now let's go check on the important people. Make sure the kids are having fun. If you missed this, the kids are the important people. John texted me a few minutes later. That was fun. Oops, that's all the time we have. See you on the next vid. Hey y'all, I'm new to this. Support me by following and subscribing. Thanks.